to New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to
City.
something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp?
Yeah,
Flavor
that's what it
Camp.
was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you
I
seeing?
went there to see the lifestyle,
Right.
And I saw it, and it was. But I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild. It was,
So
it was
nobody
crazy.
tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I ain't say that.
Okay.
For 30 years, the world has had no idea what really went down inside Diddy's house, but Usher just blew the lid off everything. Behind the flashy lights and glitz, there were twisted secrets, drugs, disturbing behavior, and grooming that no one saw coming. The question is, what dark truth has Usher been keeping all this time, and why is he finally exposing it now? Usher exposes Diddy's dark side. What if the path to fame wasn't as glittering as it seems? Usher Raymond, one of the biggest names in R&B, was barely a teenager when he found himself dragged into the chaotic, unsettling world of Sean Diddy Combs. Behind the flashing lights, lavish parties, and hit records, Usher was exposed to things no 14-year-old should ever witness. This wasn't just a mentorship, it was something far darker, twisted into the glamorous lifestyle Diddy was known for. And now Usher is pulling back the curtain. Signed to Bad Boy Entertainment at just 14, Usher was thrown into Diddy's orbit, partying late into the night, surrounded by wealth and fame. But it wasn't just the parties that left a mark on him, it was what happened at those parties that haunts him. Usher has revealed shocking truths about those early days, admitting that Diddy exposed him to a wild adult world he wasn't ready for. "I saw things no kid should ever see," Usher shared. "It was pretty wild." And it wasn't just the usual club scenes. Usher was suddenly hanging out with legends like Biggie Smalls, Lil' Kim, Faith Evans, and Craig Mack. But the atmosphere wasn't celebratory, it was chaotic, filled with unpredictable behavior that would make anyone feel out of place. For a 13-year-old, it was more than uncomfortable. It was terrifying. Usher recalled seeing grown women doing things that, at his age, he didn't even have the vocabulary to understand. It wasn't about the music at those moments. It was something else entirely, he confessed, hinting at the darker undercurrents of those nights. The real shocker? Diddy treated all of this as part of Usher's training. Living with Diddy wasn't just about learning the ropes of the music business, it was about surviving the dangerous temptations that came with it. Usher was placed in situations that could easily break a young mind. Wild parties, drugs, alcohol, and sexual escapades. Usher wasn't just seeing it all, he was in the thick of it, completely unprepared. "I wanted to make music, but Diddy was showing me a world that was nothing like what I expected," Usher said, revealing that his mentor was pulling him deeper into an adult world he couldn't escape from. Diddy's influence was pervasive. Usher described feeling like a pawn in Diddy's games. He wasn't there to nurture Usher's talent. He was shaping him into someone who could survive his wild world. The parties didn't stop, and neither did the pressure. In a 2012 interview, Usher finally laid it out. "I was in rooms where drugs were everywhere, women were doing things I didn't even know existed. It was all for show, but what was I supposed to learn from that?" But it gets even worse. Usher admits that as a kid, Diddy's world almost broke him. There were times when he was expected to play along, and when he resisted, it created tension between the two. Usher's goal was to make it big in music, not to become another casualty of Diddy's excess. In fact, Diddy's need to push Usher deeper into this toxic world led to clashes. Usher remembers nights where he would argue with Diddy, trying to assert himself as an artist, not just another partygoer, but Diddy wasn't interested in the music. "He told me to relax, that I was too intense. But I wasn't about to relax when I was seeing grown men and women doing things I could barely wrap my head around," Usher said. What really went on at those parties? And why would Diddy subject a teenager to such an environment? It wasn't long before Usher began to question if this was grooming under the guise of mentorship. As Usher's career started to take off, the pressure to fit into Diddy's world mounted. While Usher wanted to focus on music, Diddy was pulling him in the opposite direction, showing him a lifestyle he wasn't ready for. But what were these curious things Usher referred to? What was really happening behind the scenes and how much of it was Diddy's twisted attempt to control the rising star? Could Usher have been another victim of Diddy's notorious manipulation, just like others who crossed his path? Shocking confessions from celebrities about Diddy. While Usher's revelations are disturbing, they are far from the only ones. Sean "Diddy" Combs has been at the center of numerous unsettling stories involving other high-profile celebrities, many of whom have stepped forward to speak out about their own troubling experiences with the music mogul. Chris Brown, Wendy Williams, and even former bodyguard Gene Deal have all hinted at Diddy's manipulative and sometimes dangerous behavior. But it's Cassie, the pop star and model, who dropped the biggest bombshell, one that took the world by surprise. For years, Cassie had been in a public, often glamorous relationship with Diddy, but beneath the surface, things were far from perfect. Behind closed doors, there were whispers of control, manipulation, and emotional abuse. In 2019, the world was stunned when Cassie abruptly ended their relationship, disappearing from the public eye for a time. But in 2023, she resurfaced with explosive allegations, this time in the form of a lawsuit. Cassie accused Diddy of years of abuse, claiming that he controlled nearly every aspect of her life, from her career to her personal decisions, all under the guise of being her mentor and protector. Cassie's claims are some of the most damning to date. She detailed how Diddy allegedly pressured her into dangerous and degrading situations, often involving drugs, and forced her to participate in wild, dangerous parties that mirrored the same environment Usher described. But unlike Usher, Cassie wasn't just a bystander. She was pulled deeper into Diddy's twisted world, where boundaries were blurred and power was used to manipulate. According to the lawsuit, Diddy would often threaten her career if she didn't comply with his demands. It was psychological warfare, one source close to Cassie revealed, and it wasn't just emotional. It was physical. It was dangerous. And the signs were there. Paparazzi photos often showed a smiling couple, but behind the scenes, the reality was anything but picture perfect. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, also chimed in, revealing that during his time working for the mogul, he saw things that would make most people's skin crawl. Deal described secret meetings, shady deals, and late-night parties where the rules of normal society didn't apply. Diddy had control over everything Deal said, but the way he treated people, especially women, was disturbing. This isn't the first time Diddy has been accused of mistreating women. Wendy Williams, the queen of media gossip, has alluded to Diddy's toxic behavior for years. During her infamous radio career, Williams was one of the few people who dared to take on Diddy. She was met with severe backlash, both from the public and from Diddy's team, but she stood by her statements. Wendy hinted at the same twisted dynamic that others like Cassie and Usher have described, one where Diddy's charm and power would lure people in, only to reveal a much darker reality behind the scenes. One particularly chilling allegation comes from Chris Brown, who has suggested that Diddy's mentorship during his early career was far from nurturing. Much like Usher, Chris was young and impressionable when he first met Diddy, and the two quickly became close. But over the years, their relationship soured, with rumors swirling about the way Diddy manipulated the younger artist. Some sources allege that Diddy exposed Chris to the same dangerous party lifestyle that he did with Usher. Late nights, drugs, and women who were far too eager to be involved. But it wasn't just the partying that left Chris uncomfortable. According to sources close to the singer, Chris felt that Diddy was using his influence to push him into situations where he was out of control, even playing a role in his later controversies. Allegedly, Diddy would encourage reckless behavior, knowing full well the consequences it would have on Chris's public image. But why do these stories all sound so similar? Why are there so many young stars stepping forward with tales of control, abuse, and manipulation? Was Diddy's empire built on the backs of those too young and vulnerable to fight back? Justin Bieber's chilling truth about his time with Diddy. Perhaps one of the most shocking connections to Diddy's questionable behavior is Justin Bieber. The pop sensation was just 15 years old when he crossed paths with Diddy through his mentor Usher. What should have been a career-defining moment for Bieber quickly became something much darker. Usher had discovered Bieber on YouTube in 2009, and the two quickly became close. But it wasn't long before Diddy entered the picture. And when he did, things took a disturbing turn. Justin Bieber himself has hinted at uncomfortable experiences with Diddy, but it was his mother, Patty Mallet, who provided more chilling details. According to Mallet, Diddy invited Bieber to parties that were far from age-appropriate. She alleges that at these gatherings, Bieber was exposed to alcohol, drugs, and adult activities that no teenager should be around. But it didn't stop there. Diddy reportedly gifted Bieber a Lamborghini, a grand gesture that, on the surface, seemed like an incredible opportunity for the young star. But Mallet saw it as something more sinister. One particularly disturbing allegation is that Diddy offered Bieber alcohol and marijuana despite his young age. This claim was supported by people who were at these parties who said that Diddy's gatherings were no place for a teenager. It was wild, one insider shared. Justin was so young, and yet he was surrounded by grown men and women who were partying like there was no tomorrow. Diddy didn't seem to care that Bieber was just a kid. He treated him like an adult, like he was one of the crew. This raises a critical question. Was Diddy deliberately grooming these young stars? Justin Bieber's career skyrocketed during his time with Diddy and Usher, but at what cost? Bieber has spoken candidly about his struggles with drugs and addiction later in life, and many believe that the toxic environment Diddy introduced him to played a significant role in his downward spiral. By the time Bieber was in his early 20s, his public image was in freefall. Multiple run-ins with the law, including arrests for DUI and resisting arrest, shocked his fans. Bieber admitted to drug use, including lean, MDMA, and shrooms, painting a picture of a young star who had lost his way. And while Diddy hasn't been directly linked to these incidents, the influence he had over Bieber's early years cannot be ignored. But Bieber wasn't the only one who struggled after their time with Diddy. Both Usher and Chris Brown have faced their own demons: addiction, legal troubles, and mental health issues, all of which they've publicly battled. Is it a coincidence that these young stars who were taken under Diddy's wing at such a vulnerable age all ended up facing such turmoil later in life? Mace reveals Diddy's unthinkable betrayal. If Usher and Justin Bieber's experiences with Diddy weren't enough to raise eyebrows, then the explosive accusations from Mace, the rapper and former bad boy artist, will leave you speechless. Mace, once one of the most prominent voices under Diddy's bad boy label, has long hinted at a troubling relationship with the man who helped launch his career. But recent events have pulled back the curtain on what can only be described as a betrayal of the highest order. For years, Mace was the golden child of Bad Boy Records, producing hits like Mo Money Mo Problems and Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. At first, it seemed like Mace had the world at his feet thanks to his association with Diddy. But behind the scenes, things weren't nearly as glamorous. Mace has repeatedly claimed that Diddy not only underpaid him, but also manipulated him into signing contracts that left him with virtually no control over his own music. Mace took to Instagram to air his frustrations, accusing Diddy of holding on to his publishing rights for over 20 years and refusing to sell them back, even though Mace offered $2 million. Diddy's response? He allegedly demanded $3 million instead. Mace was understandably furious. This isn't just about money, though. Mace's accusations go much deeper. He alleges that Diddy's exploitation didn't stop with contracts, it extended into their personal relationship as well. According to Mace, Diddy didn't just want to control his career, he wanted to control every aspect of his life. Mace claims that Diddy manipulated him emotionally, dangling opportunities in front of him only to snatch them away whenever Mace got too independent. In a particularly shocking revelation, Mace detailed how he was responsible for some of Diddy's biggest hits, including the iconic Mo Money Mo Problems. Yet, despite his contributions, Mace was never properly credited or compensated for his work. Instead, Diddy took the glory, presenting Mace's work as his own. "I came up with the beat. I wrote the lyrics. I created that sound," Mace said. But in the end, Diddy got all the praise, and I got left with crumbs. Mace's story of betrayal is one that's all too common in the music industry, but the level of control Diddy exercised over him is alarming. Was Diddy intentionally keeping Mace under his thumb to ensure that he would never rise above him? And if Mace was being manipulated this way, how many other artists suffered the same fate? Mace's accusations didn't stop at financial exploitation. He also questioned Diddy's public image, calling out the mogul for using the phrase "black excellence" while continuing to take advantage of black artists. But the question remains, why has it taken so long for Mase to speak out? Was he afraid of what Diddy might do to his career, or was there something even more sinister keeping him silent? Mase's revelations raise serious concerns about the power dynamics in the music industry, especially when it comes to young, vulnerable artists trying to make it big. Was Diddy deliberately keeping Mase and others like him from reaching their full potential? And if so, how many other artists has he done this to without them even realizing it? Is Diddy connected to these mysterious deaths? If you thought Diddy's control over his artists was the most shocking thing about him, you might want to sit down for this next part. For years, there have been whispers that Diddy is connected to the untimely deaths of several music industry figures. While these claims remain unproven, the rumors alone are enough to make you wonder just how deep Diddy's influence really goes. The most notable name in this web of suspicion is Kim Porter, Diddy's longtime partner and the mother of 3 of his children. Porter tragically passed away in 2018 with the cause of death listed as pneumonia. However, some believe there's more to the story. According to Jaguar Wright, a singer who has been outspoken about the dark side of the music industry, Porter's death wasn't as straightforward as it seemed. Wright suggested that Porter was working on a tell-all book about her relationship with Diddy and her knowledge of the music industry's inner workings. Could it be that Porter's sudden death was meant to keep her silent? Wright didn't stop there. She also implicated Diddy in the deaths of other major figures in the music world, including Andre Harrell, Heavy D, and even the notorious Big Andre Harrell, who gave Diddy his first big break, died of heart failure in 2020, but according to Wright, he too was working on a book that would have exposed secrets about Diddy and Bad Boy Records. Heavy D, another figure closely tied to Diddy, passed away in 2011 under similarly suspicious circumstances. Some believe that these deaths were not accidents, but rather calculated moves to prevent these individuals from revealing damaging information about Diddy's empire. But the most shocking allegation ties Diddy to the death of Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious Big. While B.I.G.'s murder remains unsolved, there have been countless theories about who was responsible, and Diddy's name has come up more than once. Some believe that Diddy, who was closely associated with Big during the height of his career, may have played a role in orchestrating his death as part of a larger East Coast-West Coast feud that spiraled out of control. This theory, while unproven, adds yet another layer of intrigue to Diddy's already controversial legacy. Another shocking twist comes from Reggie Wright Jr., a former head of security for Death Row Records, who has publicly stated that he believes Diddy was involved in numerous suspicious activities, including orchestrating hits on rivals. While these claims remain allegations, Wright's statements have reignited interest in the unsolved murders of several high-profile figures in the music industry. But why would Diddy go to such lengths? Was it purely about protecting his image and his empire, or was there something even darker driving his actions? The fact that so many people who were close to Diddy have died under mysterious circumstances is hard to ignore. And while these allegations may never be proven, the sheer number of them raises a chilling question. How far was Diddy willing to go to keep his secrets buried? The hidden feuds and power struggles behind Diddy's empire. Behind the glossy image of Sean Diddy Combs, there's a much darker, more sinister side. One that involves feuds, backstabbing, and power plays that ultimately shaped Bad Boy Records. While Usher, Mase, and others suffered under Diddy's control, there's an entire web of lesser-known battles and betrayals that helped Diddy maintain his iron grip over the music industry. These hidden conflicts exposed a cutthroat world where artists were disposable and loyalty often came at the cost of careers. Diddy's empire wasn't just built on talent and hustle, it was built on control. One of the earliest signs of Diddy's behind-the-scenes manipulation was the sudden downfall of Craig Mack, whose career was derailed after his breakthrough hit, Flava in Ya Ear. On the surface, Mack's exit from the spotlight seemed like the natural churn of the industry, but insiders tell a very different story. According to those close to the situation, Mack's rapid decline wasn't an accident. It was engineered by Diddy, who was busy pushing another rising star, the Notorious Big, to the forefront. Diddy made a deliberate choice. promote Biggie as the face of Bad Boy, and quietly sideline Mac, ensuring that the label's narrative stayed focused on the larger-than-life rapper. Mac, who once seemed poised for a long career, found himself trapped in a label where he no longer fit into the master plan. Diddy's decision to prioritize Biggie was financially motivated, but it was also a calculated move to ensure that Mac wouldn't become competition within the label. As a result, Mac's second album was delayed, poorly promoted, and ultimately a commercial failure. Was this Diddy's first big power play, a taste of the lengths he'd go to in order to protect his empire? This wasn't the only time Diddy put business over loyalty. Another key player in Bad Boy Records who felt the sting of betrayal was Shyne. In what would become one of the most notorious incidents in hip-hop history, Shyne took the fall for Diddy in a 1999 nightclub shooting that left several people injured. While Diddy walked away with his career intact, Shyne ended up serving a 10-year prison sentence. Despite being poised for greatness, Shyne's future was sacrificed to protect Diddy's image and freedom. Was Diddy just another ruthless businessman, willing to let his protege rot in jail to preserve his status? The shooting itself had Diddy's fingerprints all over it, his bad boy image, reckless lifestyle, and need to keep his power unchallenged. And yet Diddy's influence didn't stop there. Shyne wasn't the only one whose loyalty to Diddy led to his downfall. The Lox, a legendary hip-hop trio signed to Bad Boy, found themselves locked in a contract that they described as nothing short of a prison sentence. Diddy's contracts, often described as exploitative, kept the Lox tied to the label even as they watched their peers gain independence and wealth. When the group realized they were being shortchanged on royalties, they fought back in a very public way. During a live interview on Hot 97, they called out Diddy directly, igniting a feud that would send shockwaves through the industry. The Lox's public demands for their release weren't just a plea for better financial terms, they were a desperate attempt to escape Diddy's control. For years, the trio had been stifled by a contract that left them with little creative or financial freedom. Despite producing hit records, they saw only a fraction of the profits, while Diddy once again kept the lion's share. The infamous shiny suits era, which saw the Lox dressed in flashy outfits to appeal to mainstream audiences, became a symbol of their growing resentment towards Diddy. The trio wanted to return to their hardcore roots, but Diddy's obsession with image and commercial success left them feeling suffocated. The struggle for power reached a boiling point when Jadakiss and Styles P publicly confronted Diddy, going as far as encouraging fans to send bottles of furniture polish to Bad Boy headquarters, an insult aimed at Diddy's obsession with appearances. The tension escalated behind the scenes, with Diddy allegedly using his industry connections to block the Lox from moving to other labels, even as they tried to negotiate their freedom. The feud was a glimpse into how tightly Diddy held on to his artists and how ruthless he could be when they attempted to break free. But the feuds weren't limited to artists. Industry insiders have long whispered about Diddy's cutthroat dealings with producers and executives too. Multiple producers who worked with Bad Boy have shared stories of how their contributions were downplayed or outright stolen. In one particularly twisted account, a well-known producer alleged that Diddy would invite him to sessions, have him create beats and tracks, only to later claim ownership of the work. Diddy, as one producer put it, knew how to play the game, and if you weren't careful, you'd end up with nothing while he walked away with everything. One producer, who preferred to remain anonymous, recounted how Diddy would foster a culture of competition within his circle. He'd pit artists against one another, creating an environment where everyone was scrambling to prove themselves worthy of Diddy's attention. The result? Artists who were once close friends or collaborators would turn into rivals, all vying for Diddy's approval. This strategy kept Diddy in control. If his artists were too busy fighting each other, they'd never have the energy to question his methods or challenge his authority. And then there's the chilling tale of Jaguar Wright, who recently spoke out about a disturbing pattern of deaths surrounding Diddy's inner circle. While some dismiss her claims as conspiracy theories, others can't help but wonder, is there more to the tragic deaths of artists and insiders like Kim Porter, Andre Harrell, and even Biggie Smalls than meets the eye? Wright has openly suggested that these figures, all of whom were close to Diddy, might have known too much about his shady dealings, whether it was about Bad Boy's financial practices or the darker aspects of Diddy's personal life. Kim Porter's sudden death in 2018, ruled as complications from pneumonia, left many shocked. Porter, Diddy's ex and the mother of his children, had been by his side through many of Bad Boy's most successful years. However, some sources suggest she had been working on a tell-all book in the months leading up to her death. Could her untimely passing have been more than a coincidence? The idea that Diddy might have been involved in silencing those who knew too much isn't new. It's a theory that's been whispered in the darkest corners of the industry for years. The question is, how much of it is true? From sabotaging careers to exploiting contracts and even allegedly being linked to mysterious deaths, Diddy's rise to power seems built on a foundation of control, manipulation, and betrayal. How many more secrets are hiding behind his carefully curated public persona? And how many more artists fell victim to Diddy's empire without ever having the chance to speak out? Do you think Diddy's empire was built on manipulation and lies, or is there something even more sinister lurking beneath the surface? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you're ready for more scandals, hit that like button and smash the subscribe for stories that will leave you questioning everything. Stay tuned.